The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like those other energy drinks have. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. W's products are made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. All of the flavors are unique and custom-made by W, and you'll never taste our taste anywhere else. The best part about it is they're affordable. W's drinks come out to about $1 per drink, much cheaper than Starbucks or any of those canned energy drinks. To learn more, visit w.gg.com/discount/MRTipton33 and place your order today. Use promo code MrTipton33 and save today. W Energy, be better. What's going on, everybody? I want to tell you about my new friends over at Cleverman. Visit them online at becleverman.com. What they gave me was the energizing face and beard scrub along with the Cleverman face scrubber. And trust me when I say this, the energizing face and beard scrub smells amazing. Combining it with the face scrubber, making sure that your boy was looking as good and sexy as possible, opened up a whole different sensation in my face that I haven't ever felt before. I felt so clean, so fresh, and so clean, like Outcast said, and it helped me feel like I was ready for my day. Make sure you visit them online at becleverman.com and follow them on Instagram at clevermannyc. The link is up in my bio if you want to check out all the amazing products they have. Visit them online, becleverman.com. This is Mike Tipton from Tipton Sports Broadcasting, inviting you to join us on Tuesday, June 10th at Buffalo Wild Wings, 655 Sunland Park Drive on the west side of El Paso for all-you-can-eat wings. As a big fat guy, you know I'm going to be stuffing my face, so why not join me and Brandon the Iceman Cone for all-you-can-eat wings? Be sure to tune in to Fire and Ice every Saturday as we talk sports or anything else that might come to mind. At B-Dubs, enjoy the $4 house beer Wild Herd, $5 Bud Lights, and $6 Voodoo Rangers. And take advantage of their $4 Fireball shots.
Fireball.
Happy hour is Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Be sure to try the delicious new sandwiches like the beer cheese, cheesesteak, and chicken parm melt. Plus, all-you-can-eat wings Monday through Thursday until June 26th. $24.99 for bone-in wings, $19.99 for boneless wings, and the fries are included. All-you-can-eat bone-in and boneless wings Monday through Thursday, and Fire and Ice every Saturday at Buffalo Wild Wings, 655 Sunland Park Drive. It is the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, hanging out with you here on a Tuesday morning. Want to give a shout out to everyone that's tuned in over on Instagram. It's Emmy, Mama Bear, 200, Andy Scott, a whole bunch of names over there that I cannot read because apparently I need new glasses. Want to give a shout out to my dude, Tommy Cananza, who's tuned in over on the YouTube channel. Remember, we are live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Instagram, and of course on Roku via National Streaming Sports. Shout outs to our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Download the Roku app. That way you can watch all the stuff that we have on National Streaming Sports. Earlier today, they had the Mac and Jack show. Shonea Pearson doing a great job over there filling in for Mac. And of course, our guy Keith Engel with TGI Sports came on right before this show came on. And at 10 o'clock here in El Paso, noon on the East Coast, our guy Bo Crouch will be live with Coast to Coast Sports. It's awesome listening to him. I got to talk to him yesterday on TikTok. He had a TikTok live. He was giving away some autographed Tyler Lockett stuff. And that got me inspired to do something similar of the same. So I think what I'm going to try to do is do something for the YouTube audience exclusively. So if you follow me on YouTube, we'll do this right now. I'll pick that up in just a second. We'll do this right now. If you follow me on YouTube between now and June 10th, even if you're already following me, you will be entered into the running to win a autographed Tony Romo Dallas Cowboys helmet. You can see the autograph right there at the top. The autographed Tony Romo mini helmet for from the Dallas Cowboys. If you're following me on YouTube, you can go ahead and be entered in to win that. We'll put it into one of those drawings, those wheels to pull out names, and we'll make sure we get the names out there for everyone as well. There we go. So an autographed Tony Romo football helmet, mini helmet, if you're following me on YouTube. So we're going to go around with that type of stuff right there. Look at that. I'm in a generous mood today. Augustine Pimentel saying, stop showing that crap. I don't like it. Stop. Getting phone call after phone call after phone call today. Look at me being a popular guy. People not knowing that I have a show despite the fact I've been doing this since November. Tommy Cananzo saying Romo, giving us the flexing emoji with all that stuff going on with it as well. All right, guys. So Augustine saying, oh, it's Antonio Romo, one of the best ever. Antonio Ramiro Romo. Get the name right. I remember whenever I was living in Alaska, there was like a Sports Illustrated story that they were doing on Tony Romo. And they kept talking about how he would go visit his grandma's house in Dallas before games and that he would eat chorizo con huevos before each game. And it got me thinking about the fact that there's probably going to be a ton of people that make fun of Tony Romo because he likes to eat certain stuff. And I was like, this world that we live in is a disgusting, disgusting world. Sorry, I had to go through some of the stuff on social media, making sure that we've got all the channels. Everything is up and working. And it does seem like everything is up and working here with the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. I've been getting messages from people saying that something isn't working, but it is working. So if it's not working on your end, that's not a me problem. That's a you problem. Nonetheless, we power through. I'm going to do one more check here. I probably should have to hire some more people to do this stuff for me. No, everything looks like it's good to me. I don't know what people are talking about. Y'all got me. Facebook's got me. Instagram's got me. I see all the people that are tuned in over on Instagram. We had an influx of people tuning in over on Instagram, so that was fun. That was nice to see. I'm awesome. It was awesome. It was nice to see all that stuff. Good for that. Anyway, I want to move on. You can see in the description of the show that I wanted to talk about, and it was something that we brought up yesterday. We're getting closer to the NFL season. We're 2 months away. And I've been interested in trying to look and see what teams have done better. And just like we did with free agency, just like we did following the draft, we're going to break it down now. What team rosters look like by division and who should be winning those divisions, right? And we're going to start with the AFC and in the AFC East. And I think that everyone here would be in consensus, unless you're a major fan of one of the other teams in this division, it would be a massive consensus that the Buffalo Bills are the best team in the AFC East. And whenever you look at what they did in free agency, they got themselves a wide receiver in Josh Palmer. Not too sure if that's a huge upgrade for them. We'll talk about some of the players that left. As a matter of fact, let's talk about that first. Let's talk about the players that left, which is Mac Hollins, the wide receiver that they replaced with Josh Palmer. They lose their punter, Sam Martin, not big. They lose their center, Will Clapp, not too big. They lose Casey Toohill, a defensive end, not a huge hit to them. And they lose a backup tight end in Quentin Morris. A lot of those positions outside of Mac Hollins and outside of their punter are all backup positions. So whenever you look at it from that angle, you say, okay, the Buffalo Bills, they just lost a little bit of depth. What did they add in free agency? What did they add in the NFL draft? So you lose Matt Collins, you sign Josh Palmer. You get an outside linebacker in Michael Hokecht. You bring in Joey Bosa, which is a huge signing for them, helping out the defensive line and everything going on with that. Larry Ogunjobi, you bring him in as well to help out the defensive line. You keep Ty Johnson. You keep DeMar Hamlin. You keep Reggie Gillum. And then you bring in a bunch of depth. Elijah Moore, a wide receiver from Cleveland. Tre'Davious White, a cornerback. You're helping out that defense. That seemed to be the issue. The Achilles heel with the Buffalo Bills was that defense, not being able to generate pressure. I know they had Von Miller, but they needed help generating pressure on defense. And that's what they did by bringing in guys like Joey Bosa, bringing in Tre'Davious White, helping out this team here. And then you look at the rest of the things that they bring in here. Dane Jackson, Derek Forrest, all focused in on making sure that they're helping out their defense. Losing Matt Collins, maybe not a huge deal. I still have questions about the wide receiver room for the Buffalo Bills. I think Josh Allen is that guy. I think Josh Allen really is one of the more talented quarterbacks in the NFL. He's clearly one of the guys that helps make wide receivers better. But I still have questions about that wide receiver core. Not everyone can do what Patrick Mahomes did and win a championship with no-name wide receivers. You got to have somebody that you can say is a clear-cut number one. And I don't know if right now Buffalo has a clear-cut number one. Then you look at what they did in the draft, and they went defense-heavy in the NFL draft. Their first-round draft pick was a cornerback, Maxwell Hairston, out of Kentucky, helping out that defensive backfield. That's what they needed, right? That was all they needed to focus on. The offense was okay. One of the best offenses in the NFL, somehow, some way. They might have caught lightning in a bottle, but they want to try to run it back with that. They just need help on the defensive side. In the second round, they get a defensive tackle, TJ Sanders, out of South Carolina, again, helping out that defensive line. You got Joey Bosa on one side. Now you're helping out the interior part of that defensive line. You get an edge rusher in Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. Once again, more depth behind Joey Bosa, or he can play on the opposite end of Joey Bosa. In the fourth round, you bring in a defensive tackle once again in Deion Walker out of Kentucky. In the fifth round, a cornerback, Jordan Hancock out of Ohio State. In the fifth round, you finally go a little bit of offense here. You go with the tight end, Jackson Hawes, out of Georgia Tech, which might be an okay signing, good on depth, right? You got Dawson Knox, but it's always good to have a little bit more depth. In the sixth round, they got cornerback Dorian Strong and offensive tackle Chase Lunt out of Virginia Tech and Connecticut, respectfully. And then in the seventh round, they get a quarterback, Caden Prather, out of Maryland, more than likely not going to make the team. If you're a seventh-round wide receiver, you're more than likely not going to make the team. You look at what they did in free agency and what they did in the draft, and the Buffalo Bills addressed what they needed, which was help along the defensive line, help along the defensive secondary. That's what they needed, was just help with defense. But the biggest question for them, for me, is the offensive side of the ball. Your running game is going to be okay. I'm a firm believer that their running game is going to be all right. They've had a pretty solid running game over the last couple of years. Josh Allen is also one of those types of quarterbacks that, since he's a two-way quarterback, covers up a lot of blemishes for your team. But what is this team going to be able to do throwing the ball down the field? I still don't believe in that wide receiver core, but I still believe that the Buffalo Bills are more than likely the best team in that division. It's tough for me to think that there was another team that might have done anything to challenge them. It's not the Jets. It's not the Dolphins. It's not the Patriots, maybe. It's still the Buffalo Bills division to win and or lose. And it's more than likely going to be that they win that division. Looking in at the Miami Dolphins, and they had themselves a busy offseason. Looking at what they did in free agency. Sorry, guys, scrolling down, trying to find my notes here, all the stuff that I've got. Trying to find out what Miami did on draft day and free agency, all that good stuff. Scrolling down to their draft. There it is. Okay. Finally got there. In free agency, the Miami Dolphins lose Javon Holland, Calais Campbell, Robert Jones, Emmanuel Ogbah, Durham Smythe, Deshaun Hand, Syrian Neal, Braxton Berrios, Raheem Mostert, Kendall Lamb, Anthony Walker, Jack Stoll, and River Craycraft. A lot of players that they lost here, a lot of them big name guys. Calais Campbell, right? Like that's a huge defensive end, literally and figuratively, that you just lost to the Arizona Cardinals. Javon Holland, the free safety out of going to New York. Robert Jones, offensive lineman, going to help out the Dallas Cowboys along the offensive line. Durham Smythe, the backup tight end, going over to Chicago to be the backup over there. Braxton Berrios wasn't a great wide receiver, but gave you depth. Raheem Mostert, not a great running back, but led the NFL in rushing touchdowns 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago. Shows how quick a running back can get old. But here's what they do. They signed James Daniel, an offensive lineman from Pittsburgh. They get themselves a backup quarterback in Zach Wilson that might be able to help them out because, as you saw last year, Tua Tagovailoa can't stay healthy, and the backup situation that they had was just abysmal. They go out and they get Nick Westbrook from the Tennessee Titans, helping out the wide receiver core. But they don't sign any major deals here. Like, it's all a bunch of one-year contracts outside of James Daniel and outside of Nick Westbrook. Terrell Dodson helping out the inside linebacking core for them. They just re-signed him. But it's because the Miami Dolphins are going to be handcuffed over. Augustine saying it's Tuesday. That is why we are talking football in an offseason where nothing is going on, nothing. I'm not sure if that's a criticism or if that's a good thing. I'm not 100% sure what it is that you want to talk about here, Augustine. Do you want to talk about your long-ass soliloquy that you gave me yesterday about why you hate baseball? Is that what it is? Mr. I hate the game because they're dramatic. Nobody fights, but you love soccer where nobody fights and they all pretend to have injuries? You talk about Jesus Christ. You talk about not seeing a blind spot there. I love soccer because it's a beautiful game. I don't like baseball because it's boring. They're the Spider-Man meme. They point at each other. They're both boring. Oh, umpires. They have their issues. Oh, baseball. I can't believe they don't fight whenever the dugout's clear. When has there ever been a brawl in soccer? Like genuinely. I've watched sports my whole life, and I haven't ever seen a brawl in soccer. I've seen a lot of people pretend they have injuries. Hell, I was watching that game on Saturday, once again, the United States versus China. And there was a Chinese player who was laying on the floor for 45 seconds. She was laying on the ground, hoping to get a call. And then she stands up and just starts running down the field. Way to get revived in 45 seconds. You talk about drama queens, that's what soccer is. That's what makes soccer so hard to watch. We talk about how the NBA, you got flopping in the NBA. They learned that from soccer. Give me a break, this old baseball thing that you're anti-baseball, but you want to be pro-soccer. They're the same damn sport. They're both boring as hell. At least baseball, you got someone throwing a ball 100 miles an hour. Tommy Cananza saying he wants to talk about soccer. No, Augustine, go stand in the corner. Banished to the corner. The Miami Dolphins, once again, they're handcuffed. There's not a lot they can do in free agency. Not a lot that they can do trying to sign a bunch of new players like you saw, like I told you. Out of all the players they re-signed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 of them, 21 of them are all on 1-year deals. 3 are on 2-year or more deals. That's it. Augustine talking about his long stories that he was sending me saying my paragraphs are right. No, they're not. They're your opinion. And your opinion is invalidated whenever you want to be all soccer guy talking about how bad baseball is. Again, they're the same sport. They're both boring as hell sometimes to watch. They can be fun at occasion, but it's very rare whenever it happens. At least in baseball, you don't see dudes falling on the floor pretending they have an injury. And you see the replay and no one gets hit. No one gets hit. Nothing happens to you. Or you get hit in the head and for some reason you start holding your ankle. Your paragraphs were not right. They were simply your opinion, and you can feel they're right, but I will tell you right now, I don't agree with it, and most people wouldn't agree with it either. I'll let you talk about that on Friday whenever you come on the show. That's why I'm not going to be talking about it. I hate baseball because it's so boring and it's so dramatic. What the fuck is soccer? Spider-Man meme. They point at each other. They're both the same thing. Tommy Cananza giving us a good laugh on that one. There's some other people that joined in on Instagram. Thank you all so much for joining in on Instagram. I'm dealing once again with the migraine, guys. I've got to find a way to get this stuff taken care of. I'm dealing with the migraine, doing my best right now because I have to read the screen, but I can't see that far away. I guess Scott Reeves, Dennison, and JPans9 joining in over on Instagram right now. Powering through with these migraines. One of these days, I'll figure out what the source of all these migraines are. But the Miami Dolphins are going to be hamstrung because of the amount of money that they paid Tyreek Hill, the amount of money that they paid Jalen Waddle, the amount of money that they paid Tua Tagovailoa. They're not going to be able to do a whole lot in free agency. And as you saw right there, all the one-year deals, right? All the one-year deals. Then you go to the draft. Your first round pick, you're helping out your defense, and Kenneth Grant, a defensive tackle out of Michigan. I think all of us loved that defensive Michigan or that Michigan defensive line that they had. Kenneth Grant, the star along that defensive line, going to help out the Miami Dolphins on their interior defense. Then they go out, they help out their offensive line in the second round, bringing in a guard, Jonah Sinavaia out of Arizona. Going back to the defensive end, Jordan Phillips out of Maryland in the fifth round. They didn't have a fourth or a third round pick. In the fifth round, they get cornerback Jason Marshall Jr. out of Florida, safety Dante Trader Jr. out of Maryland. In the sixth round, they get a running back, Ollie Gordon II out of Oklahoma State. Then they go and they get Quinn Ewers to be the long-term backup, I feel. In the seventh round, they get themselves a long-term, I feel, backup quarterback that he can be in the system for a while, start some games whenever he needs to start some games, but he's getting to learn from two seasoned-ish quarterbacks in the NFL. I like the Quinn Ewers pick. And then in the seventh round, they go back to the defensive line, and they get Zeke Biggers out of Georgia Tech. Jonah from Zona is what our guy Tommy Cananza is saying. Jonah from Zona. And again, you know me, I like big, beefy men. That's what they did. Big, beefy men to slap beef against other big, beefy men. Those were their first three draft picks. I wouldn't say they had a great draft. I thought they had a really good draft. But I guess, once again, that's just splitting hairs, right? I'm not going to fall into that bull crap that you get on normal debate television. Was it good or was it great? It was, in my mind, you know what, I'll go with, it was a great draft. They addressed what they needed, especially by not having a third or a fourth round pick. They were able to get talent to help out the spots that they needed. They needed to help protect Tua Tagovailoa. That offensive line was a turnstile the last couple of years. So what do? You go and you get Zona, or you get Jonah from Zona, right? You're helping out your offense. You're protecting your quarterback. You couldn't get pressure on offenses last year. So what do? You get interior defensive linemen to help break down the center. The easiest way to get to the cornerback is shooting those A gaps and making sure that you get pressure right up the middle. Once you get pressure up the middle, no quarterback, no matter who they are, is going to be comfortable. That's what the Miami Dolphins are doing. But I look at this team, and I just see a team that is on the verge of collapse. Once again, a couple of years ago, this team scored 70 points against the Denver Broncos, who had a pretty solid defense at the time. They scored 70 points against this Denver Broncos team. And everyone's thinking to themselves, oh my God, Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins are an absolute Ferrari or a Lamborghini. They are a supercar that's going to be able to put up points on anybody. They get through that season, they make it to the playoffs, and then they go into Kansas City in negative 25-degree temperatures, and they get their ass handed to them. Last year, Tua gets hurt. Tyreek Hill has a precipitous drop-off after being voted the number one player in the NFL by his peers. He has a precipitous drop-off and becomes just a regular guy. No longer had that top-end speed that he was known for. He still might be extremely fast, but he's not the fastest guy in the NFL anymore. Now he's mortal. And for a guy that's mortal to drop as many passes as he did, he starts to lose his value. Then you hear the rumors that are surrounding the Miami Dolphins. Are they going to trade Jonnu Smith, who was huge for them last season? Are they going to trade Jalen Ramsey, who, again, a solid enough cornerback for them to do what they need to do on defense? Not a lockdown guy anymore, but still really damn good. And then there's also the rumors out there that they might trade Tyreek Hill. What are the Miami Dolphins doing right now? And then you go along with that and realize that this is going to be year 4 of the Mike McDaniels experience. I guess year 3 of the Mike McDaniels experience. Back-to-back disappointing seasons for the Miami Dolphins. Back-to-back not getting where you needed to be seasons for the Miami Dolphins. Now, what happens to this team if and when they struggle this year? What happens if this team doesn't make the playoffs again? Is it time to get rid of Mike McDaniels? He went from 1 year being a genius on offense to not knowing how to handle a team in all 1 year. And all the cute little quirks that he has that were out there that people kept talking about, that, like, oh, look at how fun all this stuff is, became really little annoying things last season because winning covers up everything. But whenever you're losing, it creates so many more issues than what you would like your team to have. And the Miami Dolphins aren't good enough in that division to continue to move along and be like, look, we're doing better. We're getting better at this stuff. We're going to be able to challenge the Buffalo Bills. Miami's not going to be able to challenge the Buffalo Bills. I am comfortable saying that right now. I still believe that it's the Bills division. And Miami right now is fighting for number 2 or 3. And there's a real possibility if things go real bad for them that they're number 4 in this division. Because I feel like the whole division has gotten better while Miami, yes, they had a great draft, but that free agent, that free agent period for the Miami Dolphins was absolutely horrendous. You signed 24 players, and 21 of them are to 1-year deals. Very few cracking the $2 million line. So many 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 million dollar deals for the Miami Dolphins. I don't know if the Miami Dolphins are a team that you can really, really depend on. But I know that you can depend on just the tip.
I just want to put the tip in.
It's time for
Just a tip.
That would make me uncomfortable.
Promise that it ain't too much, but just enough. Just a tip. Just a tip.
Just the tip? Just the tip.
It's time for Just the Tip.
Just the Tip is brought to you by our friends over at www.myhappynuts.com. Check out myhappynuts.com and check out all of the products they have for your male grooming needs. Use that promo code Mike Tipton at checkout. Yesterday I just got the full body deodorant. Going to start shooting my commercial today for the full body deodorant, so that way you all can see what it's like to be so fresh, so clean, just like Outcast said, with all of your male grooming issues. You got a bush down there like the Zohan is the biggest. They've got the Bulber. You're tired of chafing down there. They have the anti-chafe stick. You're tired of feeling uncomfortable and sticky because it's getting muggy and humid in El Paso. It rained yesterday and there was that much humidity and it made everyone feel uncomfortable. Well, they've got the comfort cream. Everything you need, guys, is at www.myhappynuts.com. Use promo code Mike Tipton at checkout and save on all of your male grooming needs. It's Tommy Cananza saying, I could see the Patriots finishing number 2 behind Buffalo, but I think right now I got to give the edge to the Miami Dolphins. And that's exactly where we're going next, Tommy, as we are going to the New England Patriots. We are going to see what the New England Patriots did, who I think they had a hell of a draft. I think they had a hell of an offseason because they spent a boatload of money. Just an absolute, sorry, Roku, but you got to call it what it is. The New England Patriots spent a shit ton of money during the offseason. They go and they get defensive tackle Milton Williams from the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champions. They give him a 4-year, $104 million contract. They go out and they get Stephon Diggs. We'll talk about Stephon Diggs coming up in just a little bit from the Houston Texans. They go and they get Carlton Davis, a cornerback from the Detroit Lions. They get Harold Landry, one of the better linebackers from the Tennessee Titans. They go out and they get Robert Spillane, a linebacker from the Las Vegas Raiders. They help out their offensive line by getting a right tackle, by getting a center, while getting guards, while getting all kinds of stuff. They've spent over $300 million in free agent signings. $300 million almost in free agent signings did the New England Patriots. Tommy Canazza saying, I don't know, Tommy. I think my Patriots are still in rebuild mode. Heck of an offseason, but it's not enough. Au contraire, mon frere. Then in the NFL draft, they go out and they get Will Campbell, the best offensive lineman available. They get Will Campbell to help out and protect Drake May. That was the issue that the New England Patriots had last year, was they didn't have enough protection for Drake May. They've got it now. They've got it now. They go out and they get themselves a running back, another running back to be right there with Ramondre Stevenson, with Travion Henderson. A great pickup for the New England Patriots. In the third round, they go out and they get a wide receiver, Kyle Williams out of Washington State. Once again, getting some depth to help out along the offense that they need to help out with. They get Mac Hollins from the Buffalo Bills. So now you got more depth at the wide receiver core, more targets, more weapons for Mac Hollins to use. You got 2 good running backs back there. Now you got a better offensive line. They go out and they get another offensive lineman and center Jared Wilson out of Georgia. You already know those Georgia boys, whether it's offensive line or defensive line, they're NFL ready from day one. You get him in the 3rd round. In the 4th round, you get a safety, Craig Woodson out of California. A defensive tackle, Joshua Farmer out of Florida State. In the 5th round, you get an edge rusher, Braden Swinson out of LSU. Somehow, some way, they do what the New England Patriots do, and they draft themselves a kicker in the 6th round out of Miami. In the 7th round, they get offensive tackle Marcus Bryant, long snapper Julian Ashby, and then a cornerback, Kobe Minor, out of Memphis. Our guy, the Crooked Commish, saying, yo, what's good, Money Mike? What's good with you, Crooked Commish? Hope that all is doing well with the new job. Giving some love to Tommy Cananza as well over on the YouTube channel is the Crooked Commish. We are talking about the AFC East, what teams have gotten better, what teams may have gotten worse following the NFL draft, following free agency, as now we are getting ready to get into the NFL season. The New England Patriots, to me, make a really good case of being the second best team in that division. Yes, they went 4-13 last year. But I feel like with the additions they made, with as handcuffed as the Miami Dolphins are, I don't think they're better than the Buffalo Bills, but I do think that the New England Patriots are better than the Miami Dolphins and better than the New York Jets. So I'm going to go out on the limb right now, and I'm going to say, as Tommy Cananza says, we have to see if Drake May can take that next step. I think he can now. The New England Patriots weren't like a lot of the other teams that were drafting at the bottom. The Crooked Commish saying Mike must be a Drake May fan. It's not that I'm a Drake May fan. It's that I can tell he's got something there, right? Like as far as some of the other rookie quarterbacks go, he wasn't Bo Nix. He wasn't Jaden Daniels. But he's good, right? Like he wasn't near as bad as people thought he was going to be. There were flashes, there were moments there. Now you have talent around him. You bring in a Mac Hollins. You have something there. Ramondre Stevenson alongside Travion Henderson, I think it's going to be all right. I think it's going to be all right. I think that run game is going to be there. You bring in Will Campbell, the best offensive lineman in the NFL draft. Once again, not a sexy pick, but you did exactly that. The Crooked Commish saying, no, I didn't say Drake May, just Drake. Haha, I kid. I'll be a Drake fan, you'll be a Diddy fan. We'll see which one gets laughed at more. Get that baby oil off you, bro. The Crooked Commish, longtime fan of the Diddler. Sorry, Roku. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of a Drake song right now off the top of my head, and I just can't think of one. I wanted to make some sort of song. I wanted to songversate people. The New England Patriots are doing themselves a great job. In my mind, I think they won the offseason. And obviously, there's no awards for winning the offseason. The Crooked Commish saying, please don't start that rumor. LOL, it's all God's plan. It was God's plan to dip you in all that baby oil, my brother. The Crooked Commish told me flat out, he can't stop, won't stop being a fan of the Diddler. Saying baby oil gives him a rash. There's only one way you found out about that, my guy. Especially the gallons and gallons of baby oil that were spread out at that Diddy party you were at. You showed me the pictures. Don't be sitting here lying about it. If any of you are taking this seriously, 1, get a life. 2, you're my kind of person. But the New England Patriots, they're doing themselves a great job. And Augustine, I'm not saying it just to gas you up. I think that they will be a playoff contending team. I genuinely believe that they will be a playoff contending team. The New England Patriots. I don't think they'll win the division, but I think that they'll be good enough to make it into the wild card, or at least to be in the conversation for the wild card. I genuinely believe that. It all depends on Drake May. Like, I like Mike Vrabel as a head coach. I think that they've got a good enough head coaching job there. I think they've got a good enough defense. I think that they've done enough to be on the upward trajectory, right? Like, we're looking at Miami. I don't think Miami's going up. I think Miami's either stagnant or just slightly going down. That's what I feel about the Miami Dolphins right now. The other team that's left in this division are the New York Jets. What is this team going to be like, right? Because you look at what last season was. You go 5-12. You have the Aaron Rodgers experience. You finally get released from the shackles that is Aaron Rodgers. Augustine Pimentel saying, I still don't know. Next year, maybe they're putting all the pieces in place, but it still isn't enough. Yes, good couching. I know you meant coaching there. I just have to read it the way it is. I'm Ron Burgundy. You got to remember that. I'm Ron Burgundy. You lose Devontae Adams, you lose Aaron Rodgers. That might be a net positive, right? Like yes, it was negative at first. Who's going to be your quarterback? You lose him, but then you go out and you sign Justin Fields, who I think hasn't gotten a fair shake. Like, not enough talent around him in Chicago for you to really make a good enough assessment. Has himself a pretty solid season last year, but obviously has to lose the starting job to Russell Wilson whenever Russell Wilson gets healthy with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin Fields now signing with the New York Jets. And it just feels like he's one of these quarterbacks who's going to bounce around from bad situation to bad situation to bad situation. The New York Jets, I think he's playing with house money, though, because there's not a lot of expectations with this team. You can look at the team and be like, oh, okay, there's some pieces there. They got themselves a good running game. You got yourself a solid wide receiver, one wide receiver, and Wilson. But what have you added? What's the added value here? So let's look at what they did in free agency. They bring in Josh Reynolds on a 1-year deal from the Jacksonville Jaguars to help out with the wide receiver core. Not something that I'm going to be extremely happy about if I'm a New York Jets fan, but it's better than having Aaron Rodgers there. You bring in a good cornerback, a great cornerback, and Brandon Stevens from the Baltimore Ravens. Andre Sisco, a free agent, free safety. You bring him in for a season. Isaiah Oliver, a cornerback. Josh Myers, you're helping out your offensive line. That was your team's biggest issue, was your offensive line. You bring in Chris Boyd, Derek Nandi, Brian Cowart, Stone Smart, Jamin Davis, Tyler Johnson, Rashid Weaver, and Jay Tufele. Not huge signings. None of these signings, like even bringing in Justin Fields, none of them are huge signings. But you had some talent on this team. Like we could say the New York Jets underachieved the last couple of seasons. Vastly underachieved. But again, they're playing with house money because there's no expectations here. No one expects them to be better than the Dolphins. No one expects them to be better than the Patriots. No one expects the Jets to be better than the Buffalo Bills. They just are. Then you look at what they do in the draft. They go out and they get an offensive lineman, and Armand Membo out of Missouri. Great pickup for them. That's what they need. Let's protect our investment in quarterback. Whether it's Justin Fields or we move on in the future, let's protect our investment at the quarterback position. And that's exactly what they are doing with the signing or the drafting of Armand Membo. Then they go out and they get a security blanket. Mason Taylor, the tight end, out of LSU. Nothing helps out a young quarterback than having a tight end that he can rely on, that he can just dump the ball down to. The New York Jets starting to kind of build, get some of the building blocks there for the future, right? Again, not going to have anything this year. I don't think that they're going to be a good team this year. They might be around that 5-win, 6-win team this year. I need to sneeze, but it won't come out. In the third round, they get a cornerback. In the fourth round, they get a wide receiver. In the fourth round, they get a safety. In the fifth round, they get a linebacker. In the fifth round, they get an edge rusher. They addressed what they needed, which was a little bit of help on the offensive line, a little bit of help in defense, and that's what they mainly went in, was defense. Linebacking, edge rushing, safety, cornerback, right? They had a solid defense last season. That defense just wasn't good enough to overcome the issues that the offense had for them. You got to look at a lot of the New York Jets games last season. They weren't getting blown out by a lot of these teams, right? Like they lose to the Rams by 10. They lose to the Dolphins by 6. They lose to the Seahawks by 5. They lose to the Colts by 1. They lose to the Texans by 8. They lose to the Patriots by 3. They lose to the Bills by 3. They lose to the Vikings by 5, by 6. They lose to the Broncos by 1. This team was in games. And you look at this game, 10-9. You lose a 10-9 game. You lose a 23-17 game, a 23-20 game, a 21-13 game, 25-22. You look at this team here, it's not like they're getting blown out. It's not like teams are putting up a bunch of points on there. Now, yes, you have some outliers, losing to the Steelers 37-15, losing to the Cardinals 31-6, losing to the Buffalo Bills 40-14 at the end of the season. Yes, there were some games out there where they got blown out. That happens to every single team, but this defense was keeping them in games. And a lot of these losses, let's look at them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of their 12 losses were by one possession or less. One possession. One possession in a lot of these games that they lost by. And it's because you knew that the offense wasn't going to do what the offenses needed to do. Tommy Canazza saying the Jets had a good defense the last few years. How much of that was Rob Saleh's scheme? And that's going to be the big question for the New York Jets going forward, right? Like coaching carousel. You bring in Aaron Glenn, great defensive mind from the Detroit Lions. How much of Rob Saleh's offense or defensive scheme is he going to keep in there? Because the Jets had a great defensive scheme. The Lions over the last couple of years, we can all say were pretty solid defensively as well. Maybe that translates in the first season here of Aaron Glenn. But then again, maybe it doesn't, right? Maybe the ball bounces their way a little bit and they get a couple more wins than what they had last season. But it's still not enough. So the way that I look at it right now is I have the Buffalo Bills as the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme of the AFC East, followed by the New England Patriots, followed by the Miami Dolphins, followed by the New York Jets. And I would not be surprised if the Dolphins and the Jets flip-flop here. I'm telling you, there's something about the Miami Dolphins that I don't trust, that I don't like, that I feel like is going to be hurtful as we move on into this season. I wouldn't be surprised if as we get into the offseason, they just blow it all up. Because you're paying Tyreek Hill so much. You're paying Tua Tagovailoa so much. You have all that money in a wide receiver who's old as all hell now compared to all other wide receivers. And a quarterback that you know cannot stay healthy. That we all can look at. And anytime, and I know I'm not the only one here, and anytime Tua Tagovailoa gets hit, you kind of cringe a little bit. You think to yourself, damn, that could be it. That could be the end. Oh, my God, no. Anytime he gets hit, especially if it's in the chest or up, anytime Tua gets hit, you kind of sit back and think to yourself, damn, that could be it. Why? Because we've seen him seizing on the floor more than 1 or 2 times. 3 times in his career, we've seen that happen to him. Tommy Canazza says, I think it's going to come down to quarterback play for the Patriots and the Dolphins. I agree with you 100% on that. I agree that the Dolphins and the Patriots, it's going to come down to how does Drake May progress? Is he going to have a sophomore slump? How does Tua bounce back from last season? We've seen him one season. He got to be upright, didn't get hit a whole bunch, and was in the MVP conversation. One season. Can they replicate that again? Because that's the outlier in Tua's career right now, is the fact that he could stay healthy for that one season. Tommy Kanatsa saying, if Tua stays healthy, I think the Dolphins finish second. That's a big if, though, right? That's one of the biggest caveats out there. Or as Augustine and I were talking about, is a caveat or caveat? That's a huge question mark. Does Tua Tagovailoa stay healthy? If he does, what version of the Miami Dolphins are you getting? Are you still getting that Ferrari? Tommy Kanata saying it's a big if, huge if Tua can stay healthy. Arguably the biggest if of all time, if Tua can stay healthy. The question mark comes down to the Jets and the Dolphins at the quarterback position. Or not the Jets, the Patriots and the Dolphins at the quarterback position. I think as far as coaching goes, even though Vrabel sat out last season and his last year in Tennessee wasn't great, you still kind of have to give the edge to Mike Vrabel. We've seen his teams, even in Tennessee, led by Ryan effing Tannehill of all people, be good enough. They beat the Patriots. They sent Tom Brady home. Let's not forget about that. Tom Brady's last loss as a New England Patriot was to Mike Vrabel and that team. We thought Tom Brady was going to retire, winds up going over to Tampa Bay. Shout out to Adrian Z112 for tuning in over on Instagram. Larry Bolton as well tuning in over there. Mike Vrabel has shown that he can have some success in the NFL, especially in the NFL playoffs. That's where I think the edge is going to be between this Patriots and Dolphins matchup. And I think we're okay saying that both those teams are fighting for number 2. The bottom floor, though, for the New England Patriots, I don't think is as low as what the bottom for the Miami Dolphins can be. Let me see if I could find who the Dolphins are going to be playing this season. We'll bounce around between the Dolphins and the Patriots. We'll do wins and losses. The first game for the Dolphins is against the Indianapolis Colts. We'll call that a win for the Miami Dolphins. Then they're at home against the New England Patriots. We'll call that a win for the Miami Dolphins. 2-0 so far. Let me share the screen with y'all so that we can see it together. Look at that. There we go. So Indianapolis, New England, we're calling those 2 wins for the Miami Dolphins. Then they go to Buffalo. That's a loss. Against the Jets, that's a win. At Carolina, we can call that a win, maybe? Versus the Chargers, calling that a loss. So now we're looking at this team being 4-2. At Cleveland, that's a win. At Atlanta, I'm going to call that a loss. I like what Atlanta's doing. I like Michael Penix. I might be the only one out here who likes Michael Penix, but I like the weapons. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. They've got themselves a squad in Atlanta. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons to win that one, so we're looking at them at 5-3 right now. Versus Baltimore, loss, 5-4. Versus Buffalo, loss, 5-5. Versus Washington, loss, 5-6. Versus New Orleans, win, 6-6. At the Jets, we'll call that a win. Well, we got to see where the Jets are at this point in time, but we'll call that a win. They sweep the Jets. 7-6. At Pittsburgh, we'll call that a win as well. 8-6. Versus Cincinnati, that's a loss. Versus Tampa Bay, I think that's a loss. So right there, we're 8-8, I believe, entering the last game of the season at New England, and I can see them going 8-9. They're losing at New England. Best case scenario, this is a 10-win team. Maybe there's a couple of wins there that they get that I didn't give them, like against Atlanta, like against Tampa Bay. But then there's also the possibility of losses there. Carolina's on the come up. The Jets, they might lose one of those games to the Jets. They might lose both games to the New England Patriots, right? Like you cannot trust this team. So you can sound anywhere between a 10-win team to where I think they're going to be 8-9 or maybe 9-8. Like we'll flip-flop around there to possibly being a 6-win team as well. Now let's go to the New England Patriots. Let's see what the Patriots' schedule looks like here. Versus Las Vegas, we'll call that a win. At Miami, we'll call that a loss. Versus Pittsburgh, we'll call that a win. Versus Carolina, we'll call that a win. That's at home. At Buffalo, we'll call that a loss. So right now, we are 3-2. At New Orleans, we'll call that a win. 3-3. At Tennessee, we'll call that a win. 4-3. Versus Cleveland, we'll call that a win. 5-3. Versus Atlanta, I think they'll lose to Atlanta again. I think Atlanta's good, so they're 5-4. Going into Week 10, at Tampa Bay, I think they lose to Tampa Bay. They're 5-5. At the Jets, they beat the Jets, or versus the Jets rather. They beat the Jets 6-5. At Cincinnati, they lose to Cincinnati 6-6. Versus the New York Giants, they beat the New York Giants. Because why wouldn't they beat the New York Giants? The New York Giants are absolute dog shit. 7-6 entering the bye week. Versus Buffalo, that's a loss. 7-7. Versus Baltimore, that's a loss. Or at Baltimore, that's a loss. 7-8. Against the Jets, or at the Jets, that's a win. Versus Miami, that's a win. So we have this team at 9-8. I had the Dolphins at 8-9. I have the New England Patriots at 9-8. And again, there could be another win here. Like they could beat Atlanta. They could beat Tampa Bay. They could be anywhere once again from a 10 to 11 win team to about a 7-win team. Once again, their ceiling to me slightly higher than the Miami Dolphins. Their floor slightly higher than the Miami Dolphins. I just like again, and I'm not saying the Patriots are so much better than Miami. They're a game or two better than Miami. Right? Like that's the way that I see that happening. That's the way that I see that playing out. Tommy's saying New England isn't beating Atlanta or Tampa Bay, and I agree with you. I don't think they're beating them either. But that still gets them 9 wins versus what I have the Dolphins at 8 wins. Right? But they have an easier schedule. Las Vegas, Tennessee, the Giants, the Jets twice, right? Like that's the easier schedule for this team. Cleveland. I can see a scenario here where the New England Patriots go 9-8 and the Miami Dolphins go 8-9. And of course they can flip-flop. They can just flip positions here. But I think that the Miami Dolphins are just slightly worse than the New England Patriots. We're going to go with the Patriots here. So Buffalo, New England, Miami, and then down at the bottom behind 20 pounds of crap is going to be the New York Jets. Buffalo, New England, Miami, New York. That's how I think it plays out for the AFC East. All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Remember, June 10th, we're going to be at Buffalo Wild Wings. All you can eat wings. Me, Brandon, the Iceman Cone, Augustine Pimentel. We're going to shut this place down and make them regret having all you can eat wings. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. This is Mike Tipton from Tipton Sports Broadcasting, inviting you to join. This is Mike Tipton from Tipton Sports Broadcasting, inviting you to join us on Tuesday, June 10th at Buffalo Wild Wings, 655 Sunland Park Drive on the west side of El Paso for all-you-can-eat wings. As a big fat guy, you know I'm going to be stuffing my face, so why not join me and Brandon the Iceman Cone for all-you-can-eat wings? Be sure to tune in to Fire and Ice every Saturday as we talk sports or anything else that might come to mind. At B-Dubs, enjoy the $4 house beer Wild Herd, $5 Bud Lights, and $6 Voodoo Rangers. And take advantage of their $4 Fireball shots.
Fireball.
Happy hour is Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Be sure to try the delicious new sandwiches like the beer cheese cheesesteak and chicken parm melt. Plus, all you can eat wings Monday through Thursday until June 26th. $24.99 for bone-in wings, $19.99 for boneless wings, and the fries are included. All you can eat bone-in and boneless wings Monday through Thursday, and Fire and Ice every Saturday at Buffalo Wild Wings, 655 Sunland Park Drive.